Welcome to the Personal Development Essentials podcast. In today's episode, I'm truly blessed and grateful to be speaking with an outstanding and inspiring person, who I recently had the privilege to meet. So amongst his many traits, he is a certified coach, neurostrategist with over 18 years of experience in helping people to live legendary lifestyles. He's also a successful market manager, a loving husband and a father of three, a very spiritual person, a competitive athlete, and also an awesome dancer. And possibly the most relative to today's conversation, he is a senior trainer with Tony Robbins. So, CHUCK HOGAN, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Wow, that when you read back all that stuff, it makes me feel very humble in so many ways. So, thank you, my friend.
I'm really honored to be speaking with you and having you on the podcast. I will just let everyone know that how we met. So I met you while I was crewing at Tony Robbins' UPW, Unleash the Power Within in London, a couple of weeks ago. And crewing role, that was my first time crewing. And the crewing role, I discovered that it can be at times very intense and draining, not only physically, but also emotionally, mentally. And I did have moments like that during my crewing experience. But somehow, every time I was feeling like that and I would go back to the crew room to recharge, you were always there and giving some insights, and I really was helped by that. So I have already thanked you before, but I just want to thank you once again in public. So thank you very much.
The pleasure is all mine, my friend. Isn't it interesting that when you go into an environment of servant leadership, oftentimes what we're really aspiring for is for us to fill back up. You know, we want to give back so we can feel better and that we can take all the lessons and learnings and contribute to others as well. It takes more energy than some people are conditioned for. Mm-hmm. And even if they do it as an occupation, because what we do isn't necessarily who we are. And so to your point earlier, that when you mentioned that you're still on your journey, that's a beautiful statement. Because my personal hallucination is that we never stop growing. We never stop striving. We never stop, unless it's in appreciation to smell the roses and to take a look at the landscape around us, because there's so much that's going on constantly that if you actually let the little mind take over, it can be overwhelming. And at events, that's exactly what happens sometimes, because there's so much doings that we forget the being. Mm-hmm. And that's when we find ourselves waning in energy a little bit. That's why I say to stay in flow, to stay in that grace, that place. It's about breathing. It's about giving love and receiving love. And what's the craziest part about it is that oftentimes when we're giving all that love, that can be exhausting for some people. And that's because they've forgotten to do one thing, and that is to allow themselves to receive love. And that feels it feels a whole different way, because we're worthy enough if we give. If we just continue to slather people with energy and our time and our enthusiasm. So, but no, thank you. What an amazing experience. That was my second London event, and first time as crew facilitator in London. Mm-hmm. And wow. I wouldn't trade that experience for anything in the world. It really was a magical 5 days.
Absolutely. I felt exactly like that, magical, transformational. It was an experience that I will cherish always. And I can't wait for next year, really, because I'm going to crew again. Now that I have experienced it, it's, I really want to feel that feeling again.
That's amazing.
Jack, do you want to tell us a little bit just about...
in the States, if you could ever break away and have the time
Sorry, there is a little bit of delay in the audio. Say that again, please.
Well, no, I would say we'd love to have you in the United States too. There's so many events that come up that it would be brilliant and beautiful to have your energy there as well. So.
Thank you. It is in my plan. I can't say when, but it's certainly going to happen when the time is right. Yes.
Beautiful.
So I wanted to ask you a little bit about your background, your story, just so that people know a bit about who you are.
Sure.
And then, I will go to some specific things that I wanted to for you to share with us.
No, that'd be my pleasure. So much like I would say most people, I didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't realize that I needed some things in my life that would allow me to really grow and expand beyond my everyday living. So when I got into this environment back in 2000, my wife and I found out earlier that year that she was pregnant with our son, who was going to be born in June. So actually, it was late 1999.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd always been in sales and marketing. My educational background is finance, real estate, law, with a minor in business management. I have always had a very strong love and connection with people. By my nature, I wasn't young. When I was young, I wasn't really a conversationalist. I was actually afraid of people, very shy, and I would say maybe like some other folks who have experienced the same thing, I wasn't quite as self-confident as who I was and what I stood for. Thank God the universe brought an amazing woman into my life, and we've been together now for 32 years.
Wow.
She's just an amazing soul. I'm blessed beyond measure. The depths and level of who she is and how she centers me is just remarkable. So I got a business partner of mine. We had a mortgage brokerage business together in Denver, Colorado at the time. And he said, hey, we have this rep from Tony Robbins who's coming in. I've known him for a couple of years. He's a great guy. Have you read Awaken the Giant Within? I said, yes, cover to cover, multiple times. He goes, I should have known better. I should have known that you had already read that book. I was like, oh yeah, I've read Jim Rohn stuff and, and Campbell and all these folks at that time. And Malcolm Gladwell was coming up, and it's like, oh, this is really cool. So I was like, yeah, let's go ahead and have a lunch with him. And so we decided that we were going to go to UPW. And we're like, okay. And we decided to take our team of mortgage brokers with us. So the top tier of our team. So we took about 15 people, and Michael and I went in the VIP section, and wow, what? Yeah, that's all I can say. Wow, in Denver, Colorado, it's 3,500 people. It was like at that time one of the largest UPWs they'd ever had, and I was like going, wow, this is pretty cool. I mean, I'm within sweating distance. I'm within spitting distance of Tony. I'm like second row. I mean, this is amazing. Dog the bounty hunter and his wife Beth were sitting right in front of us in like CIS section. It's like going, wow, this is really cool. And I had no clue who they were, and I didn't really know who Tony was. I just got dragged to this event by my business partner. But what came of it was in day one, after I heard about Mastery University, I was all in. I was all in. I signed up that day. I was like, honey, I'm writing a check for $10,000. I love you. We're diving in the deep end, and quite frankly, I've never looked back. I mean, it has been one of the most transformational and life-altering experiences that I have ever gone through. The metrics that it's given me, the perspective on life, the skill sets that I've cultivated, and it really gave me even more drive. I'll get to go beyond. And what I mean by that statement is that I started looking at other people's technology too, neurolinguistics programming, neurosocial conditioning that Tony teaches. I started looking at hypnotherapy and even like the emotional matrix from my friend Deb Battersby. There are so many different aspects, and the universal undertone of all of it is love. Love. It's that's at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. If you have the capacity to love, which I believe we all do, if you have the intent to serve and to give back to your fellow man, you will find a way to be resourceful. Because even as Tony would say himself, it's not about resources. That was can't Google anything and you'd be a billionaire. And this brings us to modern day. So now I've been in sales and marketing for the last 32 years for a commercial textile company, and I love it. It's amazing when you get to work with creative artists, interior designers, architects, facilities managers, brand managers to help them facilitate interior spaces where you can walk into a hotel, restaurant, corporate office building, school, hospital, and you have an experience. And I started linking everything energetically to how we feel. So in most instances, I don't ask people how they're doing. I ask people how they're feeling.
How you're feeling. Yes. Yes. I remember you. I remember saying that. You saying that. Yes.
It's a mammoth distinction. If anyone in crew took away anything, that one question can set you free.
Yeah, I took that. All right.
Beautiful. Because if you ask yourself that question every day, how am I feeling?
Yes.
Ooh, that emotes a completely different sense of interaction and introspection than how am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
How you're doing, you'll start, filling out the checklist. Oh, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. Because we sort, in many instances, by the doings. What did I do today to get closer to my goal? And I go, what kind of state was I in? How was I feeling? Because it changes the metrics as to how we engage in anything. I've committed myself to being a part of Tony's journey and vision for a couple of reasons. One is he's brilliant. I have never met a strategist that has his level of practical psychology that can deliver in the way that he delivers. Mm-hmm. Huge heart. You can feel his energy from stage. I mean, he emotes this amazing level of introspection, but it drives me to be a better man, a better husband, a better father, a better friend, a better employer, a better entrepreneur, to think more globally. My biggest privilege now is in supporting others in their growth. So when I was asked to be a trainer and then a senior trainer, it really was so flattering. I mean, I didn't ask for it, but I've been blessed and gifted with that distinction. Probably the bigger thing, though, to be quite frank, is to be asked to step up into crew facilitation, because to be with these like-minded, like-hearted souls in a space where we get to serve and help influence others, for some on their continued journey, for others at this beginning of their journey. What a blessing. I mean, I fill up so much just thinking about it and feeling it and energetically linking to it. But one of my fondest things that I get to do now is I consult. I consult businesses, but I consult folks that are moving forward in their lives. And as a strategist, and I have a very different way of looking at this. I actually call our group, we actually changed, just recently we rebranded Legendary Lifestyles International, and now it's called Your Best Life. And because really, isn't that what it's about, is living your best life, being an active participant in your best life. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of, for lack of a better way of describing it, we kind of boilerplated it down to the lowest common denominator, which is it's your life.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to live your best life? It's like, I want to live an okay life. I just want to get by. I'm surviving. No. Thriving. Ooh. Thriving. Possibilities, options, opportunity. What's next? What's possible? Anything's possible. Anything's possible if you have a large enough why. Mm-hmm. And so that's really where I've been spending the bulk of my time now, is cultivating and putting together programs on modern masculinity, on, because it really has become systemically very clear to me that we are running into a part of our world now where there's a lack of mentorship to young men. Mm-hmm. And the systemic issue that it's creating is that it doesn't allow feminine energy to feel very secure. In a lot of instances, people go, oh, well, feminine energy doesn't need masculine to survive. No, it doesn't. But it does need it to thrive. Mm-hmm. So it really comes down to living a congruent lifestyle. And that's become very important.
Why do you think people settle for surviving and they don't go towards thriving? Why don't they try to fulfill their potential?
Sure. That's a beautiful question. And my belief is that when people get in overwhelm, they've developed a primordial strategy. And that is, as hunter-gatherers, there's a tendency for us to take a step backwards. For men, you do one of two things. So if you were a caveman out in the wilderness and you were hunting for your family and it was absolute survival, if it was just you, you might give up and then you would perish. But when you have others who are reliant on you and they go, well, Chuck, I don't have a family yet. I don't have kids yet. I don't have a significant other yet. And I said, and yes, you never will until you become the man that you are. So if we're going to really embrace our true selves, then we need to understand what drives us and why. It's not survival instinct. It's possibility. Men, masculine energy in specific, is really driven by one-upmanship. How do I, get to the next level? How do I make this better? How do I, and listen to the language. How do I make this better? Well, you make it better by being better.
Yes.
Ooh, that's a very different paradigm than, if I just do more stuff. Because I know a lot of people who are busy and they're great doers. They're not really accomplished beers. And so to your point, I actually believe that, again, that 10 billion-year-old brain, I'll use Tony's terms, 10 million-year-old brain. I actually believe we've been around a lot longer than that in some instances. But what I would say is that it's a primordial response to a trigger. Not to get, draconian with a psychological eval here, but what the bottom line is that when we get linked to a stimulus and our anchors are fired off, we have a feeling first and then we think second. So we create justification in our own mind's eye because the little mind needs a reason why we're doing all this stuff. And so people get into this survival mode, and survival mode really is about hoarding. It's about taking an inventory very quickly, and people go, oh, okay, well, I have a little bit over here, so let me make sure I've got that shored up. Oh, I've got a little bit of money here. I've got food. I've got shelter. Okay. And then we hold on to it, and we don't want to give any of it away. And that's the survival instinct. Thrive is very different. We're like going, oh, well, you don't have enough? Well, here, let me give you some, and then we'll work together to go ahead and propagate an opportunity, because I know in giving, we receive tenfold. That's a universal law. That's global. That's bigger than all of us put together. And the other universal law is if you're not thriving and you're surviving, then you're dying.
Yes.
Surviving isn't about change. Surviving is about building the walls around us so that way we don't have to connect with anybody else, because then they don't want anything from us. The hardest part about that is that we can't outrun ourselves. So we become a prisoner within our own walls. I don't care how far away you travel. I don't care at what speed you travel. You cannot outrun you. And if you lack the thrive ideology of loving oneself, of honoring oneself, of respecting oneself, of believing that you're actually good enough, bright enough, smart enough, deserving enough, you can't escape you.
Absolutely.
You're the prisoner in your own soul. And you're the victim of your own mind. So people go, dang, how do I get away from this? That's not the question. Most people have conditioned themselves through their life conditions and their environments to want to take the hard way out instead of the easy way in. The hard way out is looking for some external frame, someone else's adulation or reference. Oh, if I just had someone who could support me. Oh, if I just had, someone who loved me. Well, you freaking love you first. That's the easy way in. That's the shortest distance. From here to here, 12 inches, 18 inches. If you're Tony, 2 feet.
That's great.
In that space, you find the grace. In that space, you find gratitude. So that's a long-winded response to fear.
Thank you very much for and I want to ask you. I want your thoughts on something that is not very different. As Tony says, the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment. So most people, or many people, are very good at achieving things, but not equally good at. And I will talk to you personally, because my science of achievement is far better than the art of fulfillment. So, what do you think? What are your thoughts on what it is? Which factors influence someone to feel fulfilled about something that they have achieved, rather than going from goal to the next goal to the next goal and never feeling, that wow, I've done something great, and celebrate.
Yes. So again, brilliant questions. The science of success is widely predicated on taking action. And especially for male, masculine energy, we're about the doings. That's the easiest thing for us to do. Oh, give me something to do. If I just do this. I mean, even our language kind of promotes that. And as little boys, we get conditioned this way too. Oh, just go out and play. We hear this from our parents. You want better grades? Go study harder. Huh. So it's that simple. Just do it. Even Nike, that's their logo. Just do it. It's like going, just do what? Fail? Get more lessons? I go, there comes a point in time when I'm not eager just to get lessons. Thank you very much. I would like to go ahead and actually believe that I've achieved something in my life. And so people start going, okay, yeah, what would that look like? What would that feel like? I go, oh, now you hit it. You want a better answer? Ask a better question. So that's where I start going with people. I say, you're brilliant. You're doing, listen to the language, you're doing very well. You're living a very prosperous life. But what does prosperity mean to you? And that's really the question, because if we start going, okay, well, so for some people, prosperity is happiness. They go, yeah, I could have more money, but boy, I'm happy. I have a brilliant marriage. I have, beautiful kids. I have a wonderful home, great experiences. I love what I do every single day. I love what I get to be every single day. I love how I show up every single day. It's like, yeah, you can feel it. Wow. And then I know people who have tons of money, like more money they can ever spend in multiple lifetimes. And they're freaking miserable. Not sometimes, always. Because they believe in their minds, they go, oh, people just want something from me. And they're so successful that they start hoarding their success because they're not living in a thrive ideology. They're living in a survival ideology. Oh, I'm not going to teach anybody else to do what I do. If I'm going to teach you, I'm going to get paid for it. You've got more money than you could ever spend. What you desire most in this world is love and connection, and you don't have it because you're hoarding. You're hoarding yourself or the perception of what your prosperity is. Okay. So to your question, to be very direct and succinct about it, we will settle for success because the truth is we haven't exercised the art of fulfillment. Many people are afraid to paint the picture of their life. And it's because in their mind's eye, they have this blueprint, they have this outcome, they have this personification of what that should look like. And so when they engage in starting to paint, they don't realize that the first stroke, the first sketch, the first line is just the beginning. And that there's this thing called an eraser. There's this thing that's called white paint. And if you don't enjoy the painting that you're creating, that you can go ahead and take out the gesso on the canvas, like many of the great artists, masters have done, and they reused their canvases because once their masterpiece was done, it's just a Monet. It's just a Picasso or a Vasily Kandinsky. It's just another, Botticelli. It doesn't make a difference. Please. So they pin over the canvas. You're like, what? No, what? That was a masterpiece. No, that was a masterpiece then. Yesterday is history, tomorrow's a mystery. So be grateful for today because it's the present. Mm-hmm. That freaking turtle in Kung Fu Panda had it right. Master Oogway had it right. And he wasn't a turtle, he was a tortoise. Let me clarify. My kids are But I share this with you because the thing is that I love this. When we are able to pull back for a moment and really feel who we are in that moment, in that space. And I say this, I say in that space, in that grace, in that place, it's like, wow, yes, anything's possible. But why? Why is it so important? What is it? What's the next step? What is the metric that's necessary? What is it that has to happen in order for you to feel the way that you need to feel to be in that state where you're not just unstoppable, that you're guided, that you're driven, that you feel so blessed? Because another doing isn't going to give you that feeling. Now, taking action when in that state and you have a compelling story and now you're adopting strategies, there's a million ways to get to Miami. What do you want to experience along the way? How do you want to flavor it? What's the spice? Is it sweet and savory? Is it hot and sultry? Is it calm and cool and collected? Is it the most expedient? Is it slow your roll and take a moment and see what's going on around you? It all comes down to what is it that's going to motivate you and really bring you full circle. Mm-hmm. That's what it comes down to.
Sure. Thank you.
My pleasure.
There was something else that I wanted you to share once again. It was one of the things that really made a big impact on me when I met you. And it was anchoring the state of gratitude. So I remember you used this. You said put two fingers on your heart, mm-hmm. because you can instantly tap into gratitude like that. And I have been doing, but please, I want you to share this with everyone that is watching and listening.
It'd be my pleasure. So it's an attitude of gratitude. It is allowing ourselves to tap into who we really are. And if you want to call it the core of your energy, what makes you you, what makes you uniquely you. And oftentimes we honor the mind, we honor the brilliance, the cognitive achievements that we have because there's a degree on the wall. Again, based on the doings. And if we really go back to even the time when you were a child, we have become selectively, I'll say, resistant to just being our true childish self. Kids don't care. Why do we know this? Well, when a baby's upset, they cry. When they want to be fed, they cry. They let you know exactly. And because they can't linguistically emote what that feeling is, they do it physically. Their body has a response. It's visceral. It's within them. It's primordial. And part of this just heart mapping or getting from the head to the heart is about removing the judgment. We are our own worst critics. And when we are using this brilliant filter that we've been blessed with that was created 10 million years ago, that's there to protect us, it sometimes gets a little carried away. It just a skosh. And so
to say the least.
To say the very least. And so the interesting thing about that is that we start to limit our own level of expectation. We start to quell our own happiness. We start to buffer, I love Tony's analogy. He calls it being a 72-degreer. You might remember this. So you'll do everything you need to do. You'll you'll turn on the furnaces, you'll light the furniture on fire, you'll do whatever you got to do to get it to 72 degrees. And then you get to 72 degrees and you break out the fire extinguisher. It's getting a little hot. And because that's the sweet spot for some people. One of the reasons why this heart mapping is so important is because we've lost the art of cultivating emotional well-being. We've lost the emotional, if you want to call it, the behavioral conditioning of being able to really find our true nature, our true selves. And the one thing that always recenters us, it's kind of like hitting the reset switch. And where I got this analogy from was very simple. I watched my kids playing video games. And I was like, how did they get so good at this? Like, wow. And it's not that they can just anticipate because the game's always changing, but it's like, how did they get so good at this? Because conditions change, especially when they're playing online with other people, because people go, oh, they know what's coming next. No, they don't. But they have such an amazing reaction time. And I said, I figured it out. They know where the reset button is. They know that if it's not going the way that they need it to go, they can just hit the reset button. As adults, we develop so much emotional conditioning and so much judgment around how we're processing and interacting with other people that we forget that there is a reset button. And it's called forgiveness. It really is. It's about gratitude. In that space, we find freedom. In that space, in that state, we find guidance and direction. We find flow where we're actually connected to something much bigger than ourselves, much, much bigger than ourselves. And when we live and provide ourselves that breathing room, and we breathe, because we need certain things to thrive, not survive. See, this is where NLP becomes really important because we need to change the language and the distinctions. Anything that we change in the triad becomes our reality. So that physiology, the focus, the language. Well, when you breathe, it's physiological. It's kinesthetic. You feel it throughout your entire body. You also can hear it auditorily. And there's something very cathartic and freeing when we breathe. And that's why I say take a deep breath in, deep moan out. Which, by the way, you all in the UK are way too freaking good at. We've established the moaning part. That's crazy. But it's beautiful too because that tells me that there's passion and that there's a release there. Well, let's not be victims of our own emotional undoing. Let's be activists and proponents of giving ourselves emotional freedom by not being afraid to express ourselves. So when we breathe in our heart, and it's just 2 fingers. And the reason why I say 2 fingers, some people go, oh, I'm taking my whole hand and place it on my heart. I said, you could do it with a pinky. You could do it with 1 finger. You can get to the point where you don't even need to have a hand. But in the beginning, just making that physiological contact, because so many of us have forgotten what it's like to just live in that space. And with 2 fingers, you can actually feel your heartbeat. And as you condition it more and more and more, it's kind of like, how do you know what to write on a piece of paper? Well, you don't think it in your mind and say, okay, I'm going to move my hand. It becomes unconsciously competent. And so by taking 5 minutes a day, and if it feels great, do it much longer, but for 5 minutes a day, wake up in the morning, just place your hand on your heart. The minute your eyes open, you're conscious that you're drawing breath because that beautiful heart space is what kept you alive all night. Kept your heart beating over 100,000 times a day. You didn't ask for it, you were gifted it. It's what drives everything that you do. Because I'm going to contest, you feel first, you think second.
Okay.
But this will try and justify how you're feeling. So Tony gives this amazing little trick. And I don't know if I shared this with you all. I think I did it to a small group of the crew during just an impromptu conversation we were having. Mm-hmm. You give me the mic, you're in trouble. That's just the way that works.
Not at all. It's a pleasure to listen to you. I could listen to you for a very long time, Chuck. I told you that before.
Thank you, my friend. And it's interesting. So I'm going to give all credit to Tony. He shared this at an event, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. In fact, I not only thought it was brilliant, I've adopted it in my life because it's helped me manage my state like that. So it's the acronym, the abbreviation for it is SEW. So, like if you were sewing with a needle and thread.
Mm-hmm.
And what Tony did is came up with a way of being able to self-evaluate an emotion or feeling within 60 seconds, at the most 90. But when you start getting really good at it, it'll be 10, 20 seconds. It's that quick. So, because like anything else, if we condition it, it becomes accepted within our body and in our environment, and it becomes a great strategy. And this has a lot of flexibility to it. So the S in SEW stands for sensation. And in this particular case, what we're feeling becomes really important, and where in our bodies is it located? Where? Because women have a tendency, they feel it in their gut. They go, oh, I got that gut feeling, that sixth sense, that feminine intuition. For guys, it's like going, yeah, I feel it in my heart. I got a heavy heart today. And we use this language. Sometimes though, you'll feel it in your throat, like your neck, and you're like going, oh, I just can't get the words out. Boy, it's so frustrating. And in other times you go, oh, I know exactly where it's at. It's in this space between my ears. It's like living right here, right now. Now, woo, man, my head feels heavy. I go, oh. So position matters. Location matters. So where are we feeling the sensation? The E is the emotion. What is it? What is it we're feeling? So we go, oh, I'm just so angry. I'm so frustrated. I go, wait. You used two terms. You said angry and frustrated. Which one is it? Well, I'm angry because I feel frustrated. So you're feeling frustration. That's the emotion. And it's resulting in anger. It's like, ooh, we can start to see this emotional mapping as well. So we know the sensations in our head, it's frustration, which is resulting in anger. Why? Because when we do anything often enough, it becomes conditioned. And so we have an elicited response, and that anger is what becomes real. Ooh. So the W, why am I feeling this way? Why? Because people go, oh, if you have a big enough why though, Chuck, then you don't have to worry about anything else. I said, no, there's another why. And that's why we do anything is, why we do anything is why we do everything. Mm-hmm. And that also results in how we do anything is how we do everything. So when we start to understand why we're feeling this way, we can say, oh, yeah, I saw that go in a whole different way. In my mind, I saw this solution, and when I went for that outcome and I didn't get it, I fell short again, and I'm frustrated, Chuck. And man, I don't know about this. I go, well, was it different this time? No, it felt the same. I understand. Did you get closer this time? Yeah, a little bit. Whoa. Okay. Very cool. So let's go ahead and take that moment out of this timeline. And how did it feel when you were starting to get closer? Wow. Actually, now that you start talking about it, it felt a little bit more exciting. Nice. Okay. And so what was different this time? Well, I really, really stepped into it. I really believed I could achieve it. Nice. Okay. This is great. Mm-hmm. So you moved a millimeter closer to your outcome. So what does that tell you? Well, that it's possible? Yes. Yes, it is possible. And how does that make you feel when you know that it's possible, that it could happen? Given the right resources, given the right resourcefulness, because I believe that we're all doing the best that we can with the resources that we have accessible to us in that moment. That's my fervent belief. But I also believe that motive matters and intention is everything. We need to have the proper why. What is my real motive? Because if someone tells me, oh, it's just to make more money, I go, you can make money doing anything. Go sell a pint of blood, you'll make some money. Go be a sperm donor, you'll make some money. You $5,000 for a kidney, it's like fun, but you only have so many. So at some point in time, so it's short-term attainable, but it's not a sustainable outcome. Yeah. And so living in that grace, and Master Ko is so brilliant. I mean, that heart mapping exercise he does, the twin hearts meditation. I hope you found that very valuable too.
Yes,
I mean,
indeed.
such an
Very
amazing.
much. Yeah.
And there's energy around us that we don't understand. We don't understand. We believe that we know, but we don't really know. And the times that we feel it, we're not in here. We're here. And we're opening that heart, letting that beautiful pink light shine, and releasing that golden crown of energy as well. And so that it allows our bodies, that's where we become loving acceptors. And in receiving, we get the gift of giving to someone else.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Thank you. You reminded me of that phrase that says that the mind knows, but the heart understands. So there is a big difference between those two.
Yeah.
And when we start asking those questions, why do I feel like that, and what to specify the emotion, we actually start looking inside ourselves and getting to know who we are more, which I think it is the essential thing for everyone if they want to do anything, to understand who they are, who we are as.
Well, if they want to have a sense of fulfillment and happiness, I mean, that art of fulfillment, you know, that is such a huge. It is such a misunderstood concept, because the fact of the matter is, most people have made their fulfillment very small. And they'll settle. You're going to get what you tolerate.
Yeah.
And so most people are willing to settle. You asked why people are willing to get by? Because based on their life conditions of where they've been, they're like, going, wow, this is as good as it gets. Are you freaking kidding me? Then you don't have a strong enough why. You really don't. And a lot of people have lost the ability to dream. How sad is that? If you ask people and you go, what are your outcomes? They couldn't tell you. Or they'll settle for, as long as I can pay my bills. Tell me that's not a survival mode.
Absolutely. If that is not, what is? Yeah.
That's the lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
Air, food, water, shelter, maybe transportation, maybe. Not my rules. But it's interesting because I really do believe that if anyone can shift their fundamental ideology, it can provide so much freedom, so much opportunity, so much more grace, where they don't feel like they're running the rat race in life anymore, but they're actually participating and getting to see all the beauty that's around them. Mm-hmm. You know, when I hear people, they go, well, there's nothing beautiful around me. I said, what time is it there? They go, well, and I have some, you know, clients that I strategize with, and I'll say, oh, they go, oh, it's sunset. I said, oh, great. Go outside. I said, flip the camera so I can see what you're seeing. Sit down for a moment. Where? I said, sit in the grass. Look up. Close your eyes for a second and feel the warmth of the sun on your face. Open your eyes. See the beautiful clouds rolling by. Look at those colors. So we're just going to sit here for a moment and just appreciate everything that's around you. Close your eyes again and just listen. Do you hear the birds? Do you hear the breeze? Eyes wide open. Look at the color around you. Look at the people. Open your heart for a moment. Put 2 fingers on your heart with gratitude. Just feel the energy around you. What's flowing through that earth as you sit on it that supports your weight completely. Lie back. Take a load off for a second. You're not in a rush. Take a deep breath. It's amazing when we slow down for a moment, because here's one universal rule that I've learned, and I use this in business and in life. Speed kills. And it's indiscriminate. Doesn't mean you can't be deliberate. Doesn't mean that, no different than a race car driver. But the optics are wherever we're looking is where we're going to steer. So if all we're seeing is the blinders are on and we're very myopic and all we are is outcome driven, we're not seeing the big picture.
Mm-hmm.
We're driving around looking through a keyhole and praying that we get to our destination.
Chuck, I
Very
want
sad.
to. Sorry,
No, please.
no, that's okay. It's just there is some delay at some point with the internet connection. That's a problem. I want you to tell us a bit about celebrating our wins in life, even the small ones. And yeah,
Isn't it crazy? You know, Uggy, it's funny because people, not funny, haha, but funny, interesting. So I'll ask the question, why do we do anything?
to feel good.
Yeah. and to meet our outcomes, right?
Yeah.
So isn't it odd that we would meet our outcomes and as soon as we meet the outcome, we're like going, and we check the box. But here's the crazier part. I mean, wait, you're like, wait. So these are your big, hairy, audacious dreams, a BHAD, and this is what we're working for in life. This is what we're aspiring for. And oh, if I hit this benchmark, woohoo, I'm going to celebrate. And then people go, check. Are you freaking kidding me? But here's the crazier part. You fall short. You're like one hair away. And they're like going, you suck. Oh my God. You failed again. You messed up. Let's see everything you did wrong. Come on, Chucky. What's the deal? What? Yeah. Boy, I really screwed that one up again, didn't I? But we were close. Horseshoes and hand grenades. That's the only time you're close. You can get close with a horseshoe, and if you get close with a hand grenade, you may blow some stuff up. But no, you didn't hit the mark, man. You suck. This is the self-talk that starts to go on. We don't celebrate. We go, oh, man, we were so freaking close. We said we were going to have 120% growth. We're going to be up over last year by another 20%. That's huge. It's huge. We got 119. Oh, you know, man, if I had had one more day. So hey, bring it. Yeah. Woohoo. Let's go have a celebratory dinner. Because next year, 125. Watch this. And we're feeling real frisky, 130. Why? Because I know it's achievable. We never even thought that we'd get to 120. Well, you didn't. No, you got really freaking close. You got really freaking close. Again, one hair away. Why wouldn't we celebrate that? Why wouldn't we reward our neurology, our conditioning, our soul, our being with just being grateful for all of these amazing accolades? People go, oh, I don't like celebrating my birthday. Just another year. I'm older. I have more wrinkles, more gray hair. And I go, you've earned it. Your time on this planet comes at a cost. Time, intention, energy. It's not just money. So if you're going to go ahead and pour yourself into it and drink from the cup of life, know that it comes with a currency because you're living.
Absolutely.
And you don't give a flip what someone else feels about, oh, you got another wrinkle. I earned that wrinkle. I and it's like, oh, they go, what, got too much time in the sun? Yeah. Have you been to Ibiza? Have you been to Saint-Tropez? Have you been to the Caribbean? And I go, no. Wow. Maybe you need a wrinkle or two. I know it sounds crazy, but we are so critical of ourselves. And listen, I'm a human being, not a human doing. So I am critical of myself. Do I have goals? Heck yeah, I have goals. I've got some big, hairy goals. I mean, yes. And I can still only eat the elephant one bite at a time. But that's me. But if I bring a community together, we can all have the feast of a lifetime, because the elephant will feed everyone. So this is really about selfless contribution and surrounding yourself with like-minded and like-hearted people where you can stay in flow and evolve and support one another and give permission. No different than day one, day zero, when we took the vow. I give permission to other people to stand for me. When I'm not right, they're going to love me enough to let me know. Mm-hmm. And I need to be humble enough to let them do that.
Your words are so wise, and they also resonate in here, not just here, which is and yeah, the negative self-talk, we have that, and it's easy to get absorbed by it and forget that all we need to do is take a little step back. Yes. And pause that negative self-talk for a moment, take a deep breath and appreciate the small things, as you said, the clouds in the sky, or even the meal that we're having today, anything we can be appreciative of.
Yeah. I mean, how can you not be moved by nature? And then people go, oh, but that's not my thing. I said, how can you not be moved by a beautiful piece of architecture or a sculpture, a painting, a child, a loved one? It's not difficult, but we justify these lack of emotions out of fear, out of disregard for our own well-being. Because again, I have a couple philosophies I live my life by, but one of them, which is probably the most poignant, that really made the biggest shift in me. And I still struggle with this at times, because I'm a very busy guy. I mean, I'm blessed with a lot of opportunities and a lot of doings. But I really still contest that my family and I deserve the best of me and not what's left of me. You know, we'll take time for our clients. We will help shift them and move them and cultivate them. And I find this with a lot of strategists. I find this with a lot of coaches. And there's a difference between a strategist and a coach too, by the way. And that's one of the things too, that there's a distinction. But that being said, one of the things that I've found that becomes really poignant is we can get caught up in our own story. And what we really feel is the defining factor in our lives. And that's where we need to take a step backwards. Because I know a lot of strategists and coaches that are miserable. Mm. Yet their occupation is helping others. Then maybe you need to be your own first client. Maybe we need to adopt the Gandhi principle.
What's the Gandhi principle?
Well, so Tony tells a story of a mother and her child, and they're in India.
About the sugar.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And so, just to paraphrase it down, the mother takes the child to Gandhi and says, "Hey, Gandhi, we've waited in line for 2 days. Thank you for seeing us. And can you tell my son, who is diabetic, that he needs to stop eating sugar? He's killing himself." Yeah. And Gandhi looks at her and says, "Come back in 2 weeks." Like, come back in 2 weeks? We just waited in line for 2 days. He goes, "Please come back in 2 weeks." And he doesn't even address the child. So the kid's like pumping up on sugar. They're back in 2 weeks. They wait 2 days again, and they get to the front of the line. And she goes, "Do you remember me?" And he goes, "Very well." And he looks right at the boy and he says, "Stop eating sugar. You're killing yourself. Enough is enough. No more." And she looks up at Gandhi and she goes, "You couldn't have said that 2 weeks ago." And he said, "No, I couldn't. Because 2 weeks ago I was eating sugar." Yeah. To quote Keith Cunningham, "Don't be afraid to eat your own cooking." If you're going to make a meal for everybody else and ask them to eat from what you're serving, maybe you're the one that needs to take the first bite. Maybe you're the one that needs to see if it needs more salt or if it needs more spice. Don't start dishing out stuff that you're not willing to eat yourself, because that's hypocritical. And it will come across in your services when you're consulting others. I will share one of my tricks that is, I believe, most important when we're engaging with anyone. And I did it before you and I got on the line today. That is, I made sure I'm in absolute state, that I'm completely present, that my heart, my mind, my soul, my spirit, my body, that it's completely aligned, and that I'm here to serve. And that is the state that I'm in with every single soul I am blessed to encounter.
It's beautiful, beautiful.
Well, it's important because I feel very congruent. I know who I am. I know my purpose in life. Mm-hmm. And it's very simple. So many times people with their primary question are trying to figure out, well, why am I here? What am I supposed to do when I grow up? I said, who would want to grow up? Maybe that's the first outcome, is that embrace your inner child.
Yes.
They're like, well, you got to grow up sometime. I'm like, do you? I love kids. I think they're freaking brilliant. In their naivete, they uncover things that are the truths that adults pass by, things that are so obvious. Keep it simple, because what kills execution is complexity.
Absolutely. Chuck, one last question I want to, because please. I'm conscious of time.
No, this is great, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. If you had a magic wand and you could change anything in humanity as it is today, what would that be?
Self-love. In today's age of communication and connectivity, and what I will say is in the environment of convenience, I have experienced a tremendous disconnect in people. Instagram, Twitter feeds, messages that are being sent via text, they lack personal connection. By our very nature as human beings, we require a measure of interaction with one another. And I'm not berating technology. What I would say is that because language has specific conditioning that goes along with it, that the meaning of certain words has a very systemic effect with people, finding language in written text that moves people and clearly emotes the feelings and emotions and the communication that we're trying to provide without degrading, diminishing, reducing. It's so important. It's so important. Because if you go back 50 years ago, with the way we communicate on a telephone, you didn't have messages that were being sent back and forth. There could be a lot of conjecture in telegrams, and even the written word, there was an emotion, there was a level of human interaction that was facilitated when we put pen to paper. People would take time to be very clear about the language that they used. And I'm finding that in text messages, it's very erroneous. They're using abbreviations and acronyms and little soothsayings, LOL. Okay, laugh out loud. But what if someone took that as meaning something different? It's not what's said, it's how it's said. And you can hear that in the inflection and tonality of someone's voice. You can feel that, their intent and energy. You can feel when someone's being authentic by comparison to when a message is just delivered and it's kind of by happenstance. So I would say if I could wave the magic wand, it's that people could find that freedom of self-expression without judgment. Because I do believe that the world would be a far better place if we could just respect one another, and for all of our differences and all of our idiosyncrasies, rather than feeling that we are victims of our life conditions. So maybe that sounds a little woo-woo. I'll take it.
Not at all. Not at all. I think it's one of the best answers I've ever had to this particular question. Thank you.
I'm great.
Thank you.
Very grateful. I mean, I've had a blast with you this morning. I mean, I look forward to, if anytime in the future you'd like to get together again, it'd be my pleasure.
Oh, maybe we can do a part 2 at some point.
You let me know. It would be my pleasure.
Thank you so much, Jack. So, well, I'm thanking you once more from the bottom of my heart for the conversation today, and I hope it's not just for me, who I really appreciate and get everything that you say, not just here but also here. But I'm hoping for the people that watch this or listen to this on the podcast to find it beneficial. And one last question, if people want to find out more about you or connect with you, how can they do that?
Yeah, so you can go to, we're going to have our new website set up very soon. That will be Your Best Life. It's under construction right now. But in the interim, you can reach out to Chuck at legendarylifestylesinternational.com. And it'd be my pleasure to connect. We are a concierge strategist practice, which means that we are into specificity. We can do general practitioner work, if you will, no different than a general practitioner as a healthcare provider. But if you have an issue with your eyes, you're not going to go to your proctologist to deal with it. And so we make sure that there's specificity for different challenges. And what we have found strategically is that it provides the fastest momentum for creating lasting change and helping support people with their outcomes and goals, aspirations, and dreams in a very deliberate fashion. So it's a very concise and exciting opportunity to be able to network with folks and make some magic happen. So
thank you very much once again.
It's a pleasure.
I wish you all the best. Be blessed in your life. Carry on inspiring, empowering people and making them feel good about themselves, first of all, because we need to fill up our own cup before we can give to others. Otherwise, we can't give. We can't. Yes.
That oxygen mask has to go on you first.
Absolutely. And well, I wish you all the best. And thank you again very much for being to the show today.
It's a blessing, brother. I so appreciate you. And thank you for this time. I don't do many of these, and I really don't. I'm definitely would love to do more.
I'm privileged that you did. What else can I say?
I'm very, very grateful and flattered to have this opportunity with you. So
thank you.
So am I. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All the best.
Thank you.